my name's Matthew Humby, and I'm now the general manager here at the Plaza Cinema in Truro. And I have been for about 2 years now, but I've worked here in different roles for about 25, 26 years. With the general manager's job, I think it's fair to say, and I think my colleague Mark, who I share the role with, would say the same thing. I think we both discovered a new lease of life, really, when we got that job. And also, perhaps that was something to do with coming out of the pandemic, because my previous boss left at the end of the pandemic and that lockdown period. And so me and Mark stepped into our current roles just as we reopened. And although that was daunting and it seemed like a threat, it seemed like a challenge, that was a really good way to start the job. And like I say, I think we've both been here a long time. So he's been here as long as I have. I think we both felt a little bit re-energized because of that. But I think two things I'd immediately pull out, because as I say, I've been here so long, I've seen it all. There have been financial crashes and the effects that those have on people's ability to go out and spend money in their free time. So I've seen those come and go, frankly, over the years. And you have to maneuver, you have to have good footwork in how you respond to that. So you have to have some sort of offer to people so that they can still afford to come, and you have to be offering them something that is worthwhile, because otherwise they're not going to choose to spend their hard-earned on what you're doing. And I mean, on a similar note, I've also lived through periods where the films just have not been good enough. I mean, there was a period a few years ago where Hollywood had clearly just been taking people for granted, and it was all sequels, prequels, reboots. I think Pat's Film Club is an example of what you want to do is provide some form of something extra over and above that, some sort of exclusivity, and also some acknowledgement of the fact that as much as we're a business, cinema is also an art form, and as much as we are pumping out units of tickets, we're also catering to people who genuinely love movies. And also, going back to your previous question, there is something about how each cinema can build a distinct identity, and not just like churning out the blockbuster, the big new blockbuster each week or month. And Pat's Film Club does provide some of that identity, because there's a guy behind it, Pat Kelman, who has an encyclopedic knowledge of film, is really interested in the smaller, weirder, less mass appeal corners of cinema. So you know that there is one person, one mind behind this event. It's not corporatized and mass produced. And as a result, he's built a loyal following, and you know that if you haven't heard of that film but Pat's recommending it, it's probably going to be pretty good, and it's probably going to be up your street. Or, more likely, you do know that film. You have seen Harold and Maude. You know you're going to love it, but you've never seen it on the big screen because it came out 40, 50 years ago, whatever it is now. And so it's a chance to actually go and sit with like-minded fans and watch it on the big screen, and you know you're going to enjoy that, so it's good value. A lot has changed, but mainly that's because the industry has changed. We've talked about the rise of streamers, and so one change around that, for instance, is that necessity to see it on the big screen. And one way you can do that is like I say, is an epic like Napoleon or something like that, or Oppenheimer, less obviously. That was a film on a grand scale, and if you watch that on your tinny little laptop, you're going to lose something. We all worked through the transition from film to digital, and that was a huge change for the industry, and a lot of people lost their jobs. We were, I think we were the only company in the country who managed to manage that transition without redundancies. But it does mean that my job role has changed immensely. When I first started working, there would be a manager and a projectionist, and you would run different sides of the job. And I was customer facing, and the projectionist was behind the scenes. Ideally, you'd never see them, and they were running all the systems. Now those two jobs have merged, and I'm doing that as well as dealing with customers, and sometimes that's provides a tension because you're pulled in two different irreconcilable directions at once, and sometimes and obviously it makes perfect sense because you don't want to be paying two salaries where you could be paying one. But as I say, luckily our projectionists were nimble enough to become managers, and vice versa, and the systems are intuitive enough that you can, even though you might have a different skill set, you can take that on. I guess the secret is that you have to keep evolving, because who knows what is going to happen? Who knows how the world is going to change? Who knows what the streamers will evolve too, and they are. You can see that they're trying different things. They're experimenting with different models of releasing shows all at once, or parceling them out one episode at a time, in order that you need to keep your subscription up and you need to stay with them. And also, people are going to start to, since the pandemic, people have started to cancel subscriptions and try, narrow down what it is they subscribe to. So, we're all just trying to make our way as best we can. I guess what I'm saying is I haven't cracked the code. I don't have any secrets. All we can do is our best. And we just have to, but then there are some essential truths, and one of those is don't take success for granted. Don't treat your audience like fools. That goes for us and for those people producing the films. Make sure your offer is genuinely good and fair. And I understand some people think that sometimes prices are too high and things like that. And you have to respond to those criticisms and try and make sure that there is a way that people can still, make sure there are enough special offers so that people can come even if money is really tight. It feels like, although we've had very, very quiet times, and we have, like incredibly low lows and incredibly high highs with films, as I say, the recent ones that leap to mind are Maverick and Barbie. Overall, it's been a really wonderful time. And we've had a really good crew, really good core staff who are all quite dedicated, hardworking, likable people, all rub along really well together. Yes. And I just don't think you can underrate that